George Strait has spent more than 4 decades standing as one of the most respected figures in country music. Known as the King of Country, he built a legacy that many artists can only dream about. With his signature cowboy hat, calm stage presence, and timeless voice, Strait became the embodiment of traditional country music. His songs told stories of love, heartbreak, loyalty, and the everyday struggles of ordinary people. But behind the quiet strength and legendary career lies a life touched by deep personal tragedy, loss, and moments that would test even the strongest hearts. Now, at 73, many fans are reflecting not only on his incredible success, but also on the painful chapters that shaped the man behind the music. George Strait was born on May 18, 1952, in the small town of Poteet, Texas. He grew up on a cattle ranch in nearby Pearsall, learning the values of hard work, family loyalty, and humility from an early age. Life on the ranch was simple but demanding. Long days, early mornings, and the rhythm of rural life formed the foundation of who he would become. Music wasn't originally meant to be his career. As a young man, Strait joined the U.S. Army and was stationed in Hawaii. It was there that he began performing with an Army-sponsored band called Ramblin' Country. What started as a casual musical hobby slowly turned into something far bigger than anyone expected. After leaving the military, Strait returned to Texas and attended Southwest Texas State University. During those years, he joined a local band called Ace in the Hole. They played in small bars, honky-tonks, and dance halls across Texas, often for modest crowds and even more modest pay. The music industry at the time was moving toward pop-influenced country, but Strait held firmly to traditional sounds. That decision could have ended his career before it began. Many record labels rejected him, believing his style was outdated. But in 1981, everything changed when MCA Records finally signed him. His debut single, Unwound, became a hit and launched what would become one of the most remarkable careers in music history. Over the years, George Strait released dozens of chart-topping songs, including Amarillo by Morning, The Chair, Check Yes or No, and I Cross My Heart. His voice carried a rare sincerity that connected deeply with listeners. Unlike many stars who chased trends, Strait remained loyal to classic country storytelling. Fans trusted him because his music felt real, grounded, and honest. Yet, even as his fame grew, George Strait carefully protected his private life. Unlike many celebrities, he avoided scandal and rarely appeared in the tabloids. To the public, he seemed like the perfect example of stability, a devoted husband, loving father, and humble superstar. But tragedy would eventually strike his family in a way that changed everything forever. In 1986, George Strait's life was shattered by the unimaginable loss of his daughter, Jennifer Strait. Jennifer was only 13 years old when she died in a tragic car accident near San Marcos, Texas. The news devastated not only the Strait family, but also millions of fans who had come to admire the singer. For George, the pain was almost impossible to describe. Losing a child is every parent's worst nightmare, and the grief that followed forced him into a period of deep emotional withdrawal. Rather than speaking publicly about the tragedy, Strait chose silence. He refused most interviews and focused entirely on protecting his family's privacy. Music became both an escape and a source of healing. Though he rarely discussed Jennifer directly, many fans believe that the emotional depth in his songs during the years that followed reflected the heartbreak he carried inside. To honor their daughter's memory, the Strait family established the Jennifer Strait Memorial Foundation. The organization supports children's charities, including programs focused on education and healthcare. For George and Norma, helping other families became a way to transform grief into something meaningful. Through the late 1980s and 1990s, George Strait's career continued to soar. Album after album reached platinum status, concert tours sold out across the country, and his influence on country music became undeniable. Younger artists looked to him as a blueprint for authenticity. Despite the pressures of fame, Strait remained deeply connected to his Texas roots. When he wasn't touring or recording, he spent time on his ranch, enjoying the quiet life he had always loved. But success does not erase pain. Friends close to Strait have often said that the loss of Jennifer never truly left him. Instead, it became a permanent part of his emotional world. While he rarely speaks about it directly, the tragedy shaped how he views life, family, and fame. Another difficult chapter came decades later, when health concerns and the physical demands of touring began to weigh heavily on the singer. In 2012, George Strait announced that his Cowboy Rides Away tour would be his final major tour. The decision shocked fans, but also highlighted the reality that even legends must eventually step back from the relentless pace of the music industry. The farewell tour became one of the most successful in country music history. Each concert felt like a celebration of everything Strait had accomplished. Fans packed arenas and stadiums to hear the songs that had become the soundtrack of their lives. When the tour concluded in 2014 with a massive show in Arlington, Texas, more than 100,000 people attended. It was the largest indoor concert held in North America at the time. Yet retirement from touring did not mean the end of George Strait's musical journey. He continued recording new music and occasionally performing at special events. Still, life had slowed down in ways that made many fans emotional. The once constant presence of the King of Country on the road had faded into rare appearances, reminding everyone that time moves forward, even for legends. As George Strait entered his 70s, conversations about legacy became more common. His achievements are staggering: more than 60 number-one hits, over 100 million records sold, and countless awards, including multiple Country Music Association honors. Few artists in any genre have maintained such consistent success for so long. But when people speak about George Strait today, they don't only talk about numbers or awards, they talk about resilience. They talk about a man who endured unimaginable personal loss, yet continued to create music that comforted millions. Fans often notice the quiet emotion in his performances now. There's a sense that every song carries decades of memories, both joyful and painful. When he sings about love, heartbreak, or the passage of time, the words seem to hold deeper meaning. For many longtime listeners, the idea that George Strait is now in the later chapters of his life is difficult to accept. His music has been a constant companion for generations. Weddings, road trips, heartbreaks, and celebrations have all been soundtracked by his voice. Seeing him grow older reminds fans of their own journeys through time. Yet even amid the sadness that often surrounds discussions of aging and loss, there's also something profoundly inspiring about George Strait's story. He represents endurance, humility, and loyalty to both family and tradition. In a world where fame often changes people, Strait remained remarkably grounded. Today, he still spends much of his time in Texas, surrounded by family and the quiet landscapes that shaped his life. His marriage to Norma Strait, which began when they were teenagers, remains one of the most enduring love stories in country music. Through tragedy, fame, and decades of change, they have stayed together. When George Strait occasionally steps onto a stage now, fans react with overwhelming emotion. The applause is not only for the music, but also for the life he has lived. Each appearance feels like a rare moment with a living legend, whose voice defined an era. At 73, George Strait's story is not just about heartbreak, it is about survival, devotion, and the power of music to carry both sorrow and hope. The tragedies he faced could have broken many people, but instead they deepened the authenticity that fans feel every time he sings. For millions around the world, George Strait will always be more than a country star. He is a symbol of strength, tradition, and the emotional honesty that lies at the heart of great music. And even as time moves forward, the songs he gave the world will continue echoing across generations, reminding everyone that behind every legend is a human story filled with love, loss, and resilience.